Welcome into PFF TV. I'm joined today by Solomon Wilcots. I'm Cam Mellor. Today, we're looking towards the 2019 season, and we're looking in the secondary. Specifically, we're going to look at those safeties that have left their home a little bit here in this offseason, going to a new home, and who should have an impact on their new team, on their new franchise in 2019. We got to start the list off with maybe the best true free safety in the NFL when he's healthy, coming off a broken leg. Earl Thomas, going from Seattle, coming all the way over to Baltimore. What do you think?
Yeah, and the reason why Earl Thomas is at the top of our list of the top 5 safeties who are moving on and going elsewhere is because he's had the best coverage grade, okay, over the last 2 years of any of the safeties on this list. Here's a guy that can play down in the box. He can play in that single high coverage, going sideline to sideline. He can do everything you want. He's an excellent open field tackler. You love Earl Thomas, but even when you put the tape on, his coverage grade of 90 or higher over the last 2 years, I mean, it jumps out at you when you turn the tape on. So he's clearly the number one guy on this list.
Clearly the best center fielder that we've seen in recent years too as well. So even off a broken leg, don't see it as that big of an influence here. He's got enough time to recoup a whole offseason.
Oh, yeah.
So then we transition to another guy who had maybe a shock to some of those that don't watch the NFC North, don't watch the Bears closely. He's leaving the Bears. Adrian Amos headed to Green Bay.
Second best PFF coverage grade of the safeties on this list at 85.0, which is really good. And I think he's one of those safeties that has been flying under the radar in recent years. This is a guy that was a 3-year starter at Penn State. He has started for 5 consecutive seasons with the Chicago Bears. Now he's going to move over to play for the Green Bay Packers in that 3-4 scheme with Mike Pettin. And Mike is going to use this guy just about everywhere. We talked about some of the skill sets of Earl Thomas. Well, Amos can do some of the same things. I love the fact that he's durable. He shows up every single Sunday, and he plays his position very well. Maybe he's not the big-time playmaker that Earl Thomas is, but the guy doesn't give up a lot of plays, and that's why he's stellar, and that's why he's number 2 on this list.
Yeah, he doesn't give up a lot of those big plays. He may have lacked the big name on that team just because of Eddie Jackson last year and those past 2 years he's had. So. Speaking of Eddie Jackson, he gets a new teammate this year.
Yeah.
Third on this list, a guy who bounced around from 2 different teams last year.
That's right.
Quinton Dix in Chicago now.
His PFF coverage grade was 13 points higher last season, even when he went from his previous team in Green Bay. And then he moved on to the Washington Redskins, and he continued to play at a high level. That's very difficult when you experience a mid-season trade and you land an entirely new defense, and yet you hit the ground running, starting every single game last year for the Washington Redskins. So I like what he brings to the table. Also durable. He shows up each and every Sunday to start and play in just about every single game. I think he played in every game last year we talked about as a starter. But I love the fact that he can cover and he can hit and he can run. I'd like to see his coverage grade improve, but I think right now we'll take what he's putting on the table.
Yeah, a little bit of the missed tackle woes he had last year too.
Exactly.
But other than that, he's been a solid guy for Green Bay for years. Didn't miss a beat when he went to the Redskins. So how about another guy, though? We're going to go a little bit out west to the Chiefs here. Tyrann Mathieu also bounced around now. Couple different teams over the past few years. Whether he finds a home in KC for more than a year remains to be seen, but he still finds this list because he truly is an impact player.
Yeah, Tyrann Mathieu is one of those guys. We remember him as the honey badger coming out of college, a guy who can make a lot of plays. But he has changed teams, as you mentioned, for the 2nd consecutive season. Okay, goes from Arizona to the Houston Texans, now from the Houston Texans to the Kansas City Chiefs, and they need a playmaker, and they also need his leadership. I think he shows up in other areas that maybe the stats don't show, but he's got to begin to show up in that area where he's making more plays in terms of interceptions, sacks, plays on the football. I'd like to see him return to the playmaker that he once was. Early in his career, I think he had a PFF coverage grade in the 90s. Last year, right around 74.0. So he's declined a little bit in terms of the overall grading. I think he's got to get back into the 80s and 90s where Earl Thomas is. I think Tyrann Mathieu can be that kind of player in Kansas City, but he's got to start making more plays.
He's got the playmaking ability.
Yes, he does.
We do know that. We've seen it. It's documented. Speaking of, though, the documented case of somebody who's been a playmaker his entire career, whether it's been out west, out east and now back out west. You called him the dean of this group.
That's
Comes in
right.
at number 5, even in the later stages of his career now. It's Eric Weddle joining the Rams.
Going into his 13th season, 34 years of age, PFF coverage grade right about 74 last year. But the numbers really don't show everything that Eric Weddle brings to the table, because what he lacks maybe in terms of overall physical ability, speed, size, power, quickness, from the neck up, I'm telling you right now, he's one of the best safeties in the National Football League. He finds a way to make plays in a very sublime way. In other words, it doesn't just jump out at you. These are things that a tackle in space to get off the field on third down. The ability to contain the quarterback. Maybe he doesn't get the sack when he's pressuring. The other guy gets the sack, but he didn't let the quarterback escape, even though that quarterback is a fine runner. I just love the unique ways that he goes about making plays. Eric Weddle is one of those guys that can go quickly from being a player in this league to being a coach in this league. And right now, he's a coach on the field. And let's face it, the Rams are going to need that on the back end.
Agreed. You know, he's that kind of guy. He's got that playmaking ability, and he's also evolved his game as he's gotten older.
That's right.
A little bit as well. So there you have it, though. 5 impact safeties moving to a new team this offseason that we expect big things from in 2019. For more content like this, subscribe to our YouTube channel and also check out PFF.com. For Solomon Wilcots, I'm Cam Mellor. We'll see you again.